I have had it up to here with U.S. immigration. I want there to be no confusion. I think the U.S. immigration process is a laughable, pathetic joke. In fact, it's not laughable because I'm not giggling. You don't see me spitting up with a smile on my face, kicking my feet in my high chair. It is terrible. Pardon my French, but it is poop. It is so unbelievably horrible. In particular, I am angry at one individual. Just one specific individual. The U.S. immigration agent that's handling our case. But this individual is infamous in the esports scene for declining teams and people for the most ridiculously stupid reasons imaginable. A month ago, I made a video kind of going over the basics of what I'm going to be diving into deeper today. In a nutshell, our esports team, Moist Esports, has an Apex roster, and we're one of the best in the world. We are currently ranked 4th in A, with still another whole series to play. We're still a whole series behind the people around us, and we're still top 4. We're a fucking outrageous squad of maniacs out there. Some of the best talent Apex has ever seen. Our team came from Australia. Our plan for the season was to bring them to NA, where the competition is more fierce. NA is a powerhouse in Apex. So we brought them over to NA, and then at the very last second got rejected by US immigration, and they were declined entry into this country. So we had the last second pivot, change all of our plans, and get them to Canada so they could still play this split. So they're currently in Canada, and we've been actively trying to get them to the US. And I cannot overstate how much of a nuisance it was to get that rejection when we did, because it came at the very end of an extremely long, drawn-out, tedious process where just out of nowhere they decided to flip the switch saying, nope, actually, they're not welcome here, declined. And there's nothing we could have done to rectify it or change it. They just decided they didn't like us anymore, so they declined it fundamentally with no real reason. And since this is such a slow process, I swear to God, it might be one of the slowest things on the planet. US immigration moves slower than Robert De Niro and The Irishman. It is fucking disgraceful how awful the optimization is for this process. So all we could do was get them to Canada so they could still play this split here in NA like we had planned on. And while they're doing that, we're still trying to get them to the US. Now, initially we didn't really understand why they were declined. All we knew is this sometimes happens in the esports scene. My little tinfoil hat theory was that the agent was afraid of Waltzy. Waltzy is one of our players, one of the best in the world, and he also happens to be a powerlifter. So perhaps they were just worried that he'd pose a national security risk for being too strong, that he'd go around snapping Americans in half. All we could do was really speculate and resubmit, which we did. And now we've received a response from the resubmission forms, and after going through everything with lawyers and making sure it is as buttoned up as possible with all of the best in the industry, I am happy to say we are still fucking struggling because the agent is a geriatric fossil that is absolutely just out for some kind of vendetta. I think they might just hate the word moist. That's probably a very real possibility. But they have asked us to submit even more evidence and even more clarification on things, which ordinarily I would have no problem with. But we've already done this once. We did this song and dance last time only to get rejected many weeks after doing that. This isn't a fast process. If it was fast, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, oh, okay, you need more papers, more documents, more clarification. Fine, we can provide all of that tomorrow. And hopefully hear from you in the next day or two. That's not how it works, because after we do submit all of those, further appeals for evidence, it takes weeks, multiple weeks for them to respond, and they barely fucking look at what you submit, I feel. In the last video I mentioned that our agent didn't believe us that we were placing so high, and they didn't bother to look into it at all. Well, that is another thing that is a fucking problem, because they still don't believe our placements. Our team crushes it at the majors, and we were number 12 at the World Championship, and one of the things they need clarification on is why they should believe us that those placements are real or important. You rat bastard, what do you mean? We are submitting the official standings, the official placements for these majors and the World Championship. What do you mean you don't trust that? What? Actually, I wasn't there, so I didn't see it. I can't. This must be a fucking lie. Fly yourself out to the next fucking major and watch us then. Like, what do you mean? It's crazy how they can just pull that out of their ass. Like, oh, why should we believe the official standings? Ridiculous. You thought you could pull a fast one on U.S. immigration? No, sir. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. But that's not the one I want to get hung up on. I'm actually going to just read this to you verbatim. I'm not going to show you it because that might be a legal issue. But I absolutely just have to put this out here. I feel like I'm in the loony dimension reading this shit. I am convinced that there's not a human being on the other side of this conversation. I believe that our lawyers have been contacted and communicating with Cleverbot, who is for some reason representing the U.S. Immigration Services. It is so outrageously dumb. So you're going to need a little context behind this before getting into it. So when bringing the team to the land of the free, home of the brave, we were instructed to have a high-ranking EA official kind of glaze us to help convey to the U.S. Immigration Services that our team is internationally significant to this scene. Now, when it comes to getting teams over here, this is what every esports org has to do. They have to convince the immigration services that their team is highly competitive, a top team that is worthy to come over here and start bleeding cheeseburgers like a true red-blooded American. So that's what we were doing, and we had a high-ranking EA individual kind of talking on our behalf. And again, this is something that the U.S. Immigration Services, wanted. They didn't fucking believe that he's actually a real official. So let me read this to you. Written statement from an official of the sports governing body, which is who we were talking to. You may submit evidence from an official of the sports governing body describing how the athlete or team is internationally recognized. The evidence you submitted is insufficient. You submitted a testimonial from, redacted, I'm not going to drop their name, about the beneficiaries, redacted, is a senior manager at Electronic Arts, EA. But USCIS cannot determine that his position is considered an official of a governing body in esports. Additionally, he mentioned that the beneficiaries have had high placements in several competitions in the ALGS Year 3 season. However, USCIS cannot determine how the placements constitute as international reputation. As previously discussed, ALGS does not appear to require athletes or teams with international reputation to participate in the competitions. As such, there is insufficient evidence to demonstrate that having such placements in ALGS competitions equate to international reputation. You may still submit evidence to satisfy this criterion. I'm going to have a conniption. Excuse me. Still playing with cash registers, huh, Squiddy? What kind of place is this? You wanted us to prove that our placements were real, and we had a high-ranking EA, who, of course, they own Apex, represents that side, talk on our behalf to confirm that the placements are real. But you don't believe that that official, whom you even cite their position in this statement, actually represents them, is actually part of the official governing body of the esport? How can you not believe them? You even cite their position in your statement, a position that constitutes the esports side. What do you mean? And then you say that the placements don't necessarily mean international reputation? What the fuck does then? How could any team possibly get into the country through this game if even the highest placements don't constitute international reputation to satisfy your criterion? It doesn't make any fucking sense. The agent here is well known in the esports scene because we've talked to numerous other orgs. And all of them have had to deal with this person, and all of them have horror stories about them. So much so that the majority of them have found ways to circumvent ever having to deal with them and going through other people. That is how bad at their job this person is. A job that is extremely important and carries a lot of weight for so many people, and this absolute brain-dead goober can't be bothered to do the bare minimum of just activating a few neurons up here to even process what the fuck they're saying. Or what they're asking for. And when we submit the evidence that satisfies sufficiently what they want, they still are not accepting it for inexplicable reasons. That is not a reason what they've given there. How can you not believe that one of the highest ranking officials at EA for this area is not trustworthy or insufficient or doesn't represent the governing body? That is mind-bogglingly silly. It has to be malicious. It has to be malicious. No one can be this stupid on accident and have this job. Again, this is a job that is extremely important, and you have someone this incompetent there? I don't believe it. This has to be on purpose. Not only have we been working with lawyers who specialize in this area, but we have been working with other orgs who have successfully gone through this process, albeit it seems they've done it with other individuals. Not this fucking womp from Super Mario 64 that we've unfortunately been cursed with over there at the US Immigration Office. This is craziness. How one person can just say, I just don't really feel like bothering to look into this at all, so I'm just going to say you're lying. I'll ask for more evidence and then not read it, and fuck you. That's absolute insanity. Even when we fulfill it to a T and bring in an extremely high-ranking EA official to speak on our behalf to our achievements in the scene, they still won't even accept that. What else can we do? Like, what else is there to do besides just somehow get a different agent, resubmit again, and pray, fingers crossed, we don't encounter this scourge? It's just ridiculous. I had to rant about this again after I was shown why we've been requested further information for the fucking, like, third time now, after being rejected. Like, it's... Oh, my lord. What in tarnation? I cannot believe how awful this process is. Truly awful. And nonsensical. So yeah, I just had to rant about this. Again, there's your little Moist Esports update for our Apex team. Our Apex team is fucking crushing it. Going to be watch partying their next game this Saturday. Hopefully more big dubs on the way. Our team is absolutely going fucking ballistic, so I love to see that. It's always a lot of fun. Feel free to stop into the streams. And hopefully pretty soon, they can eventually come to the United States, like we had planned on many months ago. So, yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah.